Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
The annual Catholic Appeal, In Giving We Receive, taken from the prayer of St. Francis. As Catholics, we seek to bring hope to those who despair in life. Through your collective giving, we bring light to the darkness as we spread our faith to those who doubt. Your gift will make a difference, for in giving, we receive God's blessings. So please give generously in your parish or at diospringfield.org.
Coming up on this edition of Real to Real.
The Diocese of Springfield and the City of Holyoke reach an agreement on the church building of Mater Della Rosa. I'm Caroline McGrath. I'll have the story.
Spreading the faith through music. And Dan Dumas has the latest news from the Diocese of Springfield. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Real to Real. Hello and welcome to Real as we begin the month of June. It's been almost 7 years since Holyoke's Mater Della Rosa Church was closed and merged with nearby Holy Cross Parish to create Our Lady of the Cross Parish. These have been 7 years marked with controversy and acrimony over the fate of the former Mater Della Rosa church structure. And faced with mounting concerns about the structure, it appeared just months ago to be headed for demolition. But this past Thursday, news of an agreement between the City of Holyoke and the diocese gave new hope that this building will be preserved. Caroline McGrath attended the announcement and filed this report.
We are proud to announce today that the city and the diocese have reached an agreement that would preserve the former Mater Della Rosa church building, a significant priority for many in our community and this administration.
Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky joined Holyoke Mayor Alex Morse to announce the proposed resolution regarding the former Mater Della Rosa church located on Lyman and Maple Streets in Holyoke. The parish was home to the city's Polish community. As a result of pastoral planning and parish reconfigurations, it was closed 7 years ago. The City of Holyoke will acquire the building for $50,000. The diocese will maintain ownership of certain structures in the church, such as stained glass windows. The city will pay a $1 per year lease that will enable those structures to remain in the building.
It is important for us to preserve this cultural icon for the Polish community and the city as a whole. It's one of the few remaining buildings in the historic Polish neighborhood that was decimated by urban renewal in the 1960s and 70s.
The diocese has long been concerned with the structural integrity of the building, and engineers pointed out the potential for the steeple to collapse. Former parishioners fighting to save the building disputed those findings and even appealed to the Vatican to save the parish. The Vatican ruled on the side of the diocese. The issue has been a contentious one over the years, with former parishioners holding an around-the-clock vigil at the church. The diocese was given a permit to demolish the steeple of the church last October, but those plans were put on hold as the mayor and the bishop discussed a possible acquisition.
I've certainly known about Mater Della Rosa Church since I arrived here almost 4 years ago. And we were looking for a solution, or I should say a resolution, that would be both favorable to the community, but also realistic in keeping up the church. So different groups have approached us, but not with realistic plans in maintaining the church. I believe this gives to us an opportunity to have a group that will realistically be able to keep up the church as a historic place.
Mater Della Rosa and Holy Cross Parish merged to form Our Lady of the Cross Parish in 2011. Bishop Rosansky says while church closings are emotional and difficult, he says it's the result of changing demographics.
When we look at how the demographics have changed, particularly in our area of Western Massachusetts, the economics have changed over the years. Certainly in Holyoke, we were known as the paper city, but many of those mills have closed. The workers had gone elsewhere. And just in natural attrition of demographics, people move, the children grow up, get married, move to homes in other places, and we're affected by those things. The church is not immune to that.
The City Council must approve the acquisition. If the Council gives the green light, the transfer will be complete by June 30th, and requests for proposals will go out in the fall. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
And you can read more on this story online at iobserve.org. Since his arrival in the Diocese of Springfield in 2014, Bishop Mitchell Rosansky has invited parishioners to increase their efforts to engage high school and college-age Catholics in the life of the Church. Hoping to help the bishop in this goal, 2 diocesan staff members are collaborating on a project to allow young Catholics to use social media to share questions and concerns about their faith. Joining me now to talk more about a new video feature, Faith Time Q&A, are Gina Chervinsky, Director of Catechetics and Youth Formation, and Rebecca Drake, Editor and News Director for Catholic Communications. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, now Rebecca, I think I'll start with you first because you had the idea for this initially. Tell me how you came about with this idea.
A few years ago, I went to some high school religious education classes in my own parish in Munson and an 8th grade religion class at St. Michael's Academy in Springfield. My goal was to talk about Catholic communications and show them some of the things that we do. When I showed them the Catholic Mirror magazine, among the things they were very interested in are the columns Ask Father Joe and Parenting Journey. And they said they would really like to see a similar kind of question and answer column that was geared directly towards their age group. So I eventually went to Gina to ask for ideas, and I was planning to put it in the magazine, but she had a slightly different idea, and I'll let her explain what and why.
Okay, you can go ahead, Gina.
So what I was thinking is the magazine is one forum, but to reach a broader audience, I thought using social media would be the key, because what young person doesn't have a smartphone these days?
Exactly.
So, and knowing we have the new My Parish app, I thought there might be a way to connect this project with that use of that app, and promoting the use of that app and getting it on the phones of our young people. So it's a little dual purpose there. So then we kind of chatted it through and thought, we could do a video series where we had these little segments that, Bishop could do. And then we would use them in conjunction to make like sort of a little video catechism. So they could be used at any time when someone has a question about the faith. They could go pull up our social media account and see just a little video vignette of, something they wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really interesting. Now, what do you see as the issues that maybe a lot of these young people are concerned with, and how do you hope that these issues and concerns will be addressed?
I think a lot of the young people, the kind of questions I think they're going to ask is really, how do you relate faith to life? How do you live out your faith in the world? What is it like, to live that within your school settings, in your work settings? How do you transmit what they've learned, that head knowledge, into the hands and the heart? So how are they really actively engaged in there? So how do they talk about faith, with those around them? How do they share faith and live faith in a culture that isn't so welcoming anymore to Catholics living their faith? So those are the types of questions I expect to see through the app.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that sounds really interesting. And so we have an introduction to Faith Time Q&A to explain a little more.
Hello, my name is Bishop Mitch Rosansky, and I'm here with my friends from the Diocese of Springfield, here to address our young people of high school and college age, to participate in a way of asking questions, of inquiring about our Catholic faith. I know that all of you have your iPhones and different devices by which you communicate with your families and your friends. If you have any questions about our faith, go onto your phone to the My Parish app. You're able to get to Faith Time Q&A, and there you can send in your questions asking about our Catholic faith. Sometimes you may want to share your fears and your hopes, what you can do for the church and what the church can do for you. I'm very interested in hearing your opinions and your questions. What I ask you to do is to think of what you would like to inquire about in the Catholic Church. And as you ask your questions, do so in a spirit of faith and of knowing that we will try to answer as best we can. And so I'm very happy to be able to have this means of communication in reaching out to you, as our young people of high school and college age. You are the church today. Your enthusiasm and your energy helps to bring new life to the church. I welcome your questions, your insights, your reflections, as we seek to live out our faith in a dynamic way in a challenging world.
All right, well, we look forward to hearing more from our young people on Faith Time Q&A. Thanks so much, Rebecca Drake and Gina Chervinsky, for being with us today.
You're welcome, Sharon.
And still to come on Reel to Reel, Dan Dumas takes a look at the latest from across the Diocese of Springfield, and one singer-songwriter who is spreading the faith through music. These stories and more are still to come on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Scanlon, inviting you to take time out of your busy day and join us Sunday morning. We welcome Father Mark Mingo as our Mass presider and celebrate the most holy body and blood of Christ, Corpus Christi Sunday. The Chalice of Salvation, Sunday mornings at 10 on 22 News, and coming up next on Fox 23 WXXA.
The annual Catholic Appeal, In Giving We Receive, taken from the prayer of St. Francis. As Catholics, we seek to bring hope to those who despair in life. Through your collective giving, we bring light to the darkness as we spread our faith to those who doubt. Your gift will make a difference, for in giving we receive God's blessings. So please give generously in your parish or at diospringfield.org.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker, I didn't care what they grew up to be as long as they were happy. To give up marriage and children just seems like too much to walk away from.
He seems to think he's making a real difference in people's lives, and he's so happy. Isn't that what's most important?
I never would have imagined our son as a Catholic priest.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel to Reel news briefs. This year's annual Mary procession at Blessed Sacrament School in Holyoke included a tribute to retiring administrators, Sister Andrea Suzuki, Superintendent of Schools, and Dr. Gail Furman, Associate Superintendent. Kathy Harrington reports.
Students of Blessed Sacrament School in Holyoke honored Mary recently with their annual May procession, crowning ceremony, and Mass. The procession began at the school with a statue of Mary carried by a student. Joining the children for the walk to the church were Bishop Mitchell Rosansky and Sister Andrea Suzuki, Superintendent of Catholic Schools. The first communicants carried a rosary, The older students led each class with a banner of Mary, as Our Lady of Guadalupe, Czestochowa, Fatima, Lourdes, among others. Before the Mass began, the children crowned the Mary statue.
And what a beautiful gathering we have here to honor Mary. Our school children, our parents, teachers, grandparents, Sister Andrea, Dr. Gail Vernon, all who come here today as we celebrate God's gift to us.
The Mass also celebrated Sister Andrea and Dr. Gail Furman.
And I'm happy that we can take this opportunity to thank God for them and to thank them for all they have done over these years in the leadership of our schools.
The two women are retiring as Superintendent and Associate Superintendent of Catholic Schools in the Diocese of Springfield. The students of Blessed Sacrament School presented both with flowers and gifts.
Today was a special blessing, being together at the Eucharist. First of all, to have the procession in the church with all the children, the first communicants, the singing, but the students, the parents, the teachers, of course, our school administrators, the bishop and the pastor. It was just the entire school community represented here. So to be able to pray together and celebrate, listen to the first communicant singing along, even in Latin, it was a special treat today.
In Holyoke, I'm Kathy Harrington for Reel to Reel.
The diocesan staff also paid tribute this past Thursday with a Mass at Mary Mother of Hope Parish and a luncheon. Congratulations to them both. In other news, the Newman Center at the University of Massachusetts Amherst recently hosted 24 Hours of Mercy. Sharon Roulier reports.
The snow and cold held on tight this spring, but inside the Newman Catholic Center at UMass, there's a glimmer of hope for those who are weary and mercy for everyone who needs it.
The message of mercy is very, very important to the church, and so the Year of Mercy 2 years ago, we at Newman decided that we were going to conduct a 24 Hours of Mercy during that Jubilee year. And ever since, the students have always asked, can we continue to do that 24 hours here at Newman? And I always say yes, because I really think that it's an important element of who we are in the sense of our redemption and what Christ died on the cross for us. And during this Easter celebration, this octave of Easter, we come and celebrate this mercy of God.
On one Friday night on the weekend that the church celebrates Divine Mercy Sunday, Father Gary Daly, director of the Newman Catholic Center at UMass, held its third annual 24 Hours of Mercy for students, staff, and community members. It included 24 hours of Eucharistic adoration beginning on Friday, April 6th at noon, and 24 hours of confession, with priests volunteering to take the overnight shift.
I'm also grateful to my brother priests who have given up hours, particularly during the night hours, to come and to sit in the confessional and to be available to students who are coming here to seek that reconciliation.
The Catholic Church celebrates the Feast of the Divine Mercy the Sunday after Easter. Jesus gave the Divine Mercy Novena and Chaplet to the Church through Sister Maria Faustina Kowalska. Father Gary Daly says no one can be excluded from God's mercy.
Those who confess their sins this Divine Mercy weekend and receive Holy Communion, it's likened to a second baptism, that all our sins are forgiven and the temporal punishment due to sin as well. So the graces of this weekend are very significant.
Freshman Nicholas DeBello recently discovered the Newman Center.
I think it's a great opportunity for myself and the other students to just spend some time in the chapel and meditate on the mercy that Jesus gives us. I also think it's wonderful that we have 24 hours of confession, and it's definitely something that I plan to take advantage of.
The Newman Catholic Center offers students many opportunities to grow in their faith, including Mass, Holy Hours, and Faith on Tap.
A Lenten mission in Ludlow delivered a familiar Easter message, the baptismal responsibility to spread the gospel. Kathy Harrington spoke with Father Warren Savage at St. Elizabeth Parish and has this report.
The Bishop wants us to really concentrate on evangelization.
In a 3-night mission called The Delightful Comforting Joy of Evangelization, Father Warren Savage reminded that Bishop Mitchell Rosansky made evangelization his focus in his first pastoral letter upon arriving in the Diocese of Springfield.
And the real nature of the church is to believe what we read, teach what we believe and put into practice what we teach. I think the best way to describe evangelization, it really comes down to two things: loving God and loving your neighbors.
Father Savage shared the call to be evangelizers who take the Word of God out of church and into the world, at home, work, school, into our communities, and into the marketplace.
It means, but in light of the tragedy that happened at Parkland, Florida, I think it's very important that we speak about our Christian responsibility to love better.
Father Savage explained that true evangelization is sharing our love of God.
So if you love someone, it's going to be easy to bring that person to God. You already know the opposite. If we don't love, we push people away from God.
And life can become complicated when that love is put into action, said Father Savage.
But that love takes on concrete acts, visiting the sick, visiting prisoners, going to the hospital, taking care of the people who are lonely and abandoned, rejected, building homes for the homeless, and simply smiling. Sometimes a great smile can be the greatest act for evangelization.
Father Savage wrapped up the mission with the prayer of St. Francis, that God make us an instrument of his peace, and that it is in giving that we receive, and a prayer to Mary, the mother of evangelization. In Ludlow, I'm Kathy Harrington.
Last week, Pope Francis High School senior Edward Thomas was presented with an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy from Congressman Richard Neal. This appointment can only be conferred through a nomination by a U.S. Senator or Representative, and traditionally takes place the day after Memorial Day. David Martin has more.
It was the childhood dream of Edward Thomas to attend a military service academy and become a naval aviator pilot. His education at Pope Francis High School has encouraged him to reach higher for that goal.
And I believe the education here is top-notch. I believe it prepared me well for the academy next year. I know academics are a huge thing and they're very challenging, but because of my education here, I feel like I'm prepared.
Thomas is now focusing on feeling confident to attend the United States Naval Academy, and he became one step closer as he received the appointment from Congressman Richard Neal.
He's in pretty good company going off to the United States Naval Academy. I mean, when you consider the sacrifices and effort that Edward has made along the way, I think it speaks well of his character and the way he was raised.
During the appointment ceremony, Thomas stood with his family, who give him great inspiration. His parents will offer more support on induction day at the academy.
I think the swearing-in ceremony on I-Day is the first thing we're really looking forward to see him in his uniform and head off to plebe summer.
I know he's ready physically to go, but I cannot wait for me to see him, in uniform that day, on I-Day. It's gonna be one of my best days of my life.
Thomas takes great pride coming from a military family. He will major in aeronautical engineering as a member of the class of 2022 at the Naval Academy. In Chicopee, I'm David Martin.
Edward attended a summer program last year at the U.S. Naval Academy, which allowed selected students to discover if they have what it takes to be members of the class of 2022. He says he was further motivated to reach this goal. He will graduate from Pope Francis High School on Friday. Congratulations, Edward, and we wish you the best of luck. And remember to keep informed on all the latest news in the Catholic Church locally and beyond. Log on to iobserve.org. There you can read articles written by our Catholic communication staff, as well as view archived episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
You are watching Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Here again is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Roulier.
St. Elizabeth Parish in Ludlow recently played host to Catholic singer-songwriter Steve Angrisano. Angrisano is a veteran musician, composer, and youth minister who travels around the world spreading his message of faith, hope, and love woven throughout his music and storytelling. Carolee McGrath reports.
There's a seed that's been planted in my soul.
With his guitar and sense of humor, singer, songwriter, and music minister Steve Angrisano brought people closer to Christ during a 3-day visit at St. Elizabeth Parish in Ludlow. People of all ages came from all over to hear him sing and witness.
We're hardwired to seek God. That's why so many people are seeking, even if they never stop looking and they're looking and looking in all the wrong places, they keep seeking and nothing satisfies because, like St. Augustine said, our hearts will be restless until they rest in Him.
The husband and father of 3 spoke to youth group Sunday evening. He played for the XLT Eucharistic Adoration on Monday and did a concert on Tuesday, every time getting the crowd involved. Ann Grisano has performed at 6 World Youth Days, the National Pastoral Musicians Conference, National Catholic Youth Conferences, and at the Steubenville Summer Retreats across the country. Lisa Saloyo is the coordinator for religious education at St. Elizabeth's for grades 6 through 10. She's heard Ann Grisano and uses clips of his talks in her religious ed classes.
There is nobody more dynamic as far as I'm concerned. I think that he is a special treat for the youth ministry realm. And, I've been working on our parish evangelization committee, and I just feel like he evangelizes everybody, that it's no longer just for youth, he's no longer just a youth minister.
Ann Grisano was a youth minister at a parish in Littleton, Colorado, when the Columbine shooting happened in 1999. 4 of the students killed were from his church. He played at 3 of the funerals. He says he wants young people today to know that God is always with them.
My favorite thing of working with young people is they're fiercely authentic, and they know right away whether you really believe what you're saying to them. And I think it's in times like this, when there's tragedy and when we look out at a difficult world, it's more important than ever to decide who you are, and as I tell them, who you are and whose you are.
10-year-old Noah Pedro certainly knows who he belongs to.
Jesus is a powerful thing in my life.
Why?
Because he technically made me, and he is really nice, and
People left St. Elizabeth's on a high note, all because of Ann Grisano's down-to-earth way of delivering Christ's message.
I have great hope in the future of the church and great hope in the young people of the church, and I wish everyone could go where I go and sit where I sit and see, stand on a stage at World Youth Day and see 150,000 young people out there or 250,000 and say, there's a lot of hope that doesn't make the news, but tons of young people who came here, and I do believe I have the best seat in the church, because I get to see that and see what's coming. We're in good hands. God provides.
In Ludlow, I'm Carolee McGrath.
Into your hands I commend my life. True love is found.
And for more on Steve Ann Grisano, we have a link at iobserve.org. And for this week, that's Real to Real. Thanks so much for joining us today. A reminder that the 2018 Annual Catholic Appeal is underway, funds from which help support this TV program. This year's appeal theme is In Giving, We Receive, calling on each of us to share in the mission to bring God's peace to our world and to inspire hope in the hearts of people. To support this year's annual Catholic Appeal, online donations may be made at diospringfield.org, and thank you in advance. For more updates anytime, you can also find information and news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world on our news and information site, iobserve.org. Also be sure to friend us on Facebook, where you will be able to travel with our reporters while they work on stories for Real to Real and get the latest news on the Catholic Church. Like us at Catholic Communications. I will be back at this same time next week for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. Have a great week.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the Annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.